If the fruit, if as we serve, I just had a page open there where I wanted to read to you all what God talks about love. There are things that we are not understanding. There's no compromise on. We could come to Tarian all we want. We could come to Sunday service. We could do all these things. The word says, if we don't have love, we are a clanging cymbal. Now, what does that mean? It's not about the problems we are facing. It's about our response to what we face every day. It's about how we are around each other. That's why God says, and this is what bothers me. It really bothers me, this verse in Scripture, where the Christian is saying, but I cast out demons. Saints, I did great works. You all know what great works are? Great works are like raising the dead. Great works are like unbelievable things that the ordinary eye doesn't see. And he says, I don't know you. I don't know you. Not because you decided to go and adopt some pagan ritual, but because I'm not seeing you. I'm not seeing myself when I look at you. Because we are made in his image and likeness. And it is a fact that there's a mark on the Christian that the devil will back off from when he knows. That one, don't touch. But he studies, and he studies, and he studies. And since there's some major, major areas in our life for 2024 that we have got to take stock of. So if I'm to read to you and tell you that there are no exceptions to what I'm about to read, there are no exceptions. There's no exception if it's in your marriage. There's no exception if it's in your workplace. There's no, but I didn't, I couldn't, he didn't, she didn't. We can't say, well, you don't know me because they treated me bad and so I couldn't respond the way I should. Saints, there will be no excuse. Don't listen to the rules of Christianity that says that once you do all these things, you're fine. Because here's what we do. We listen to the word. And this is what the word says. If I can speak in the tongues of men and even of angels, but have not love, that, and I'm taking it from the Amplified just to kind of emphasize. To give you an example of something that's invisible. Guess what? The heart is visible, right? But these qualities are invisible to the natural eye, but very visible to Jesus Christ. But have not that reasoning, intentional, spiritual devotion inspired by God's love for and in us. I'm only a noisy gong or clanging cymbal. If I have prophetic powers, the gift of interpreting the divine will and purpose, and understand all the secret truths and mysteries, and possess all knowledge, and if I have sufficient faith so that I can remove mountains, but I have not love. Now listen, here's the frightening part. To have love in your heart, it means God's love is in you. If you don't have it, then that means his love is not in you. That is frightening. You can't love by yourself, you know. You love because God loved you first. So if the love is not there, then that means something else is there. That's why as Christians we have no excuse. These are the basics we have to go back to. It says here, and if I have prophetic powers and understand all the secret truths and mysteries and possess all knowledge, so that I can remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing. I'm a useless nobody. I have nothing. It says, even if I dole out all that I have to the poor in providing food, And I surrender my body to be burned, that I may glory. So could you understand going to the stake and be burned for the name of Christ? But I have not love. Comes again, God's love in me. I gain nothing. God's love is why you will love. There's no more excuses, y'all. My head was hurting. This happened. My father didn't love me. If my father didn't love me, I will hope that God's love is still in me. Please don't tell me, according to the word, I can't love because he didn't love. It should get my attention. If that is happening, then I've got to get some help, because guess what? He won't recognize himself in me because his love will not be in me. He cannot see the image of himself in me. It says here, love endures long and is patient and kind. And I know we've heard this. Christians know this back to front. The truth is, we are very impatient. We are very impatient with those who are slow. We are very impatient with those who are different. We are impatient. We're impatient with ourselves. Love never is envious, nor boils over with jealousy, is not boastful or vainglorious, does not display itself haughtily. It is not conceited. It is not inflated with pride. It is not rude. It doesn't act unbecomingly. Love, which is God's love in us, does not insist on its own rights or its own way. For it is not self-seeking. It is not touchy or fretful or resentful. It takes no account of the evil done to it. It pays no attention to a suffered wrong. It pays no attention to a suffered wrong. We don't have an excuse. I'm not loving because of what somebody did me. You see, why I'm reading this is because we read this all the time. And we figure the exception is that one I'm married to, once he or she that way, I don't have to respond in love. Truth is, you will be judged for not loving that person back. It doesn't matter if they don't love you back. This is what is really bothering me, because it's not dependent on someone else loving you back. If God's love is not in you, you will not respond. It's not because you're getting treated bad. It's because God's love is not in you. And you need help because somewhere it's clogged up. It's happening in marriages. You get treated one way, you respond the next way. If God's love was in you, there would be a pause. You might feel the flesh rising up, but the love of God in you will rise up and respond back. And if perhaps the flesh took over, you wouldn't be able to stay so. You will be sorry, a real sorry. Even if the next one wrong, you wouldn't be able to sleep. You will want to say you're sorry. God's love in you will not allow you to sleep and not say you're sorry. I want us to understand, as I just read a couple more verses here, that it doesn't rejoice at injustice and unrighteousness, but rejoices when right and truth prevail. So you will always find yourself being happy for those who perhaps they have achieved something. You know, instead of, well, I didn't think they're ready, you know, with your loveless self. That's what I'm talking about. I want you to know that love bears up under anything and everything that comes. Love bears up under everything. Anything and everything that comes. Love bears up. Love is why I will stand here today regardless of how I feel. You say, well, that's too hard. Then maybe following Jesus is not for you. Because he will enable you for what he calls you to do. Do you understand? And it might be plenty more than most people. that's okay too. Once he calls you, see, the thing is we got to pray. There's some things God didn't call us to do, but we want to do because we want to impress ourselves on others. You do what he tells you to do. His grace is sufficient. His yoke is easy, his burden is light. As hard as it is, you will answer the call. That man that giving you trouble, you will love him back. If God called you to marry him and oops, it's a little too late for you to change your mind because a covenant has been made, he will give you the grace to love him back, to love her back, to love that parent back who is not loving you. Because love bears up on anything and everything that comes, but that is because of God's love in us. We can't just manufacture this like that. So the first step is God's love in us? We could have a stony heart. Our head knows of Jesus, but our heart has not yet been made into a heart of flesh. So sometimes when you're looking for the answer to a problem, you have to start from heart condition. You could know all about Christianity. If your heart is not one of flesh, you will never be able to love people. So there's no excuse, well, that must be me. Then you will go straight to hell. Because if you don't love people, love is the ultimate. You will know my disciples by their love. So if love is not there, you're not a disciple of Christ. So therefore, let's get help. Because God always gives us a way forward. But what is happening is we are caught up in works. We are caught up in legalism. And we forget the one in the end times had plenty works. Plenty. With the gifts that he had or she had. And God said, I don't know you. That's a frightening thing, y'all. We need to know. Love is ever ready to believe the best of every person. Papa, you. Let's stop right there. Our tendency is the opposite. If that's happening, maybe in other areas you love, but you have a piece of your heart that's still stone hard, cold. Because even when someone does something wrong, you believe the best, that they can get back on the right road, or they can be restored, or that I'm not going to deny that that happened. But Jesus died for that person. The problem with us is we love to deny that things happen. Our way of thinking the best is saying they didn't sin. They did sin. But Christ died for them and they can be restored. And Lord, perhaps I can help them. But if you're going to pamper, if you're going to make people feel, it's okay, please don't try and help nobody. Because Jesus learned obedience through suffering, which means they must be allowed to suffer in their walk to learning to obey. Do you understand? We need to stop rescuing people. That's what love is. You stand with a person, you don't rescue them. So I want to say that love is ever ready to believe the best of every person. Its hopes are faithless under all circumstances. It endures everything without weakening. That's where God calls us. Love never fails, never becomes obsolete. Prophecy, it will be fulfilled and pass away. Tongues, they will be destroyed and cease. Knowledge, it will pass away. Our knowledge is incomplete, it's imperfect. Prophecy is fragmentary, incomplete, imperfect. But when the complete and perfect comes, the incomplete and perfect will vanish away. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. Now that I have become a man, I am done with childish ways and have put them aside. It's time for us to grow up, church. No church could be receiving food for close to 9 years, and you still don't even recognize that we are acting like babies. Perhaps babies don't know how to love. They don't know. I mean, in their simple ways, they smile and they gurgle. Enough gurgling. Enough kikikiing. Because we are growing up like people who have no hearts that you could call flesh. And if we are like that and we have flesh hearts, then we got to help people who don't. We got to pray extra for them and we got to help them. So I want to say, for now we are looking in a mirror that gives only a dim reflection. We shall see in reality and face to face. Now I know in part, and then I shall know and understand fully and clearly, even in the same manner as I have been fully and clearly known and understood by God. Just as God knows me completely, one day I will know completely. So faith, hope, and love abide. Faith, conviction and belief, respecting man's relation to God. Hope, joyful and confident expectation of eternal salvation. Love, true affection for God and man, growing out of God's love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. So if we don't love, it's all a waste of time. Because the one thing he says is, you will know my disciples by their love. If we don't love, we are not a disciple of Christ. So here's what. Let's stop asking God for the gifts. He'll give us. Let's stop. I must use my gift, you know. I got to fulfill my purpose. Your purpose is to love. You don't love, you are not a disciple of Christ. Let that be a 2024 written in your diary. If I don't love, I am not following Jesus. I must love because I must follow Jesus. And you know who the people are to tell you if you love? The people you are wrong. Not your secret friend that you just give a present to once a year. People who are wronged you when you are not your image self. When you are just your normal self. Your family and those in church. Ask the question. You can't know if you love by yourself. Only love is an action. Only those who feel that love, experience that love, could say that you love. This is very serious. If you don't forgive, you wouldn't be forgiven. If you don't love, you are not a disciple of Jesus Christ. And I'm not watering it down for nobody. Because I have reached a point where gifts are flowing. Just now, all you're going to raise the dead. Just now, when you go sow, demons will leave. You don't love, is a counterfeit. Get help. Not the other person, yourself. This is for us individually. Christianity is not a club. In your pursuing of deliverance, love. In your trying for your marriage to get better, love, especially the one who tormenting you day and night. Find a way to love. Get into the word. If God is in you, you will love back. There's no big drama to this, y'all. There isn't. Ask God to change your heart. Beg him. Stop asking him for other things. Just put everything on hold. But at the end of the day, that's the measuring stick, y'all. That's the measuring stick. I'm sorry to tell you, if you're being sifted, how your marriage is, God's allowing you to be sifted to see if you're loving through the torment till things settle. If you're in a family and things are till God is allowing you to be sifted. Peter, Jesus said, Satan wants to sift you. That's a good thing. Sifting is good. Everything in the word. Begin to immerse yourself But let me tell you, you can't make yourself love. God's love in you is what comes forth as love. Praise God. Father, help us to love.